If your toddler's meltdowns leave you feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated, or like you're failing as a parent, this video is for you. Because I want you to hear this straight away. Meltdowns are normal, and struggling with them doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Hiya, I'm Shan. I'm a mum of two. I have a psychology master's and a background working in sales, fundraising, and most recently working in mental health settings. On this channel, myself and my husband Cam share all things calm, honest parenting and parental mental health, the kind that works in real life, not just online. Today, I want to talk about how I try to stay calm when my 3-year-old is having a meltdown. Not perfectly, but realistically, and what's actually helped me over time. One of the biggest things that's helped me was understanding what a meltdown actually is. A meltdown isn't bad behaviour, it's nervous system overload, and it's completely developmentally normal at this age. Toddlers don't yet have the brain development to regulate big emotions on their own. The part of the brain which drives increased independence and assertiveness is rapidly developing, while the part of the brain responsible for impulse control and reasoning is still developing. So when they're overwhelmed, they literally can't just calm themselves down. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Toddler meltdowns don't just dysregulate children, they can dysregulate us too. If you find yourself suddenly feeling angry, tense, shaky, or desperate for the noise to stop, we've all been there, that's your nervous system being triggered. High-pitched crying, repeated shouting, things being thrown, those are all stress signals. Our brains are wired to react to them. And for some of us, it can also tap into our own childhood experiences. Maybe we weren't allowed big emotions when we were young. Maybe shouting meant something unsafe. Maybe we learned that feelings had to be suppressed. So when our child is screaming or completely overwhelmed, it can feel much bigger than the moment we're actually in. If that sounds familiar, if that's you, I really want you to hear this. That response is human. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It means you have a nervous system too. And the goal here isn't to never feel triggered. That's natural and it happens. The goal is to notice it, slow it down, and choose how we respond next. Something that's really helped me in those moments is a very simple 30-second reset. And it doesn't even need to be 30 seconds. It could be 10 seconds. When I feel myself getting triggered, I don't start with my child. I start with my body. Firstly, I plant my feet firmly on the ground. Then I unclench my jaw, drop my shoulders. I take one slow breath through my nose, and then a longer breath out through my mouth. And then I quietly name what's happening inside me. So sometimes I think I feel overwhelmed, as simple as that. Or I'm feeling really tense. Or sometimes it's just, this is really loud. And sometimes it's simply, I'm getting really triggered right now. And you don't need to really know why. Naming the feeling helps create a tiny bit of space between the emotion and my reaction. It doesn't magically make me calm, but it lowers the intensity just enough that I can respond instead of react. And sometimes that small pause changes the entire tone of the moment. Something else I had to be really honest with myself about was how my reactions sometimes escalated meltdowns. Raising my voice to try and get things done, trying to rush my child if we're already late, which, as a lot of my friends know, we are often late, always late. Talking too much when they were already overwhelmed with information, trying to reason with a toddler whose brain has basically gone offline. And I say this with zero judgment because I still get this wrong sometimes, a lot. When a child is melting down, they can't process lots of words. So something that helps me is saying less, lowering my body so I'm closer to their level, keeping my voice slow and calm. Sometimes the most helpful thing we can say is something very simple like, you're really upset right now, or I'm here. Another thing that helps me in the moment is reminding myself that this moment will pass. And that doesn't just apply to when my toddler's having a meltdown. That applies to any situation in life. This moment will pass. When you're in the middle of a meltdown, it can feel endless. But emotions move. Nervous systems settle. The storm does pass. Longer term, something that's helped reduce meltdowns in our home is looking for patterns. Things like hunger is often the case. Barney in particular, he often doesn't like to sit down for a meal because there's something more exciting going on. He likes to be playing instead. So he sometimes gets hungry later on in the day. Or he might be tired, overstimulated, or transitions that happen too suddenly, because most children find change really difficult. Sometimes small adjustments like giving a warning before leaving the park or slowing down a rushed moment can prevent a lot of overwhelm. But even with all the preparation in the world, meltdowns will still happen. And that brings me to something I think is really important. Staying calm doesn't mean never losing your patience. You will get triggered sometimes. I do. You might raise your voice, you might snap, you might walk away feeling guilty. I do a lot. What matters most isn't perfection, it's repair. Repair is going back to your child and saying something like, "I'm sorry I shouted. That wasn't how I wanted to handle that." Repair shows children that big emotions are allowed, even ours, and that relationships can recover. When we repair, we're actually teaching emotional safety. We're showing our children that conflict doesn't mean disconnection. And honestly, that's far more powerful than never making a mistake. So, if you're watching this and thinking about a moment you wish you'd handled differently, you haven't ruined anything. You're human, and humans get to repair. If this video helped you feel a little less alone, I'd love for you to subscribe to our channel. I share one calm, honest parenting video here every week. And if you'd like a simple tool you could use in overwhelming moments, I've also created a free 30-second calm reset, which you can download in the description below. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day.